Okay, so right before I dive into the summary for this chapter, I just wanted to show you all very briefly what the jobs window looks like for that new machine I'm building. It's been going, it's about 75% complete. It's been going for about 11 minutes. That's kind of what you should expect from this sort of thing. So let's talk about, let's summarize chapter 6 right quick. Um, there we go. So, the key components of your virtual machine manager, you've got your VMM management server, the VMM console, and the VMM local agent. Um, on the if the server that you're managing is also the management server, it's going to have all three of these pieces: the local agent, the console, and the management server. For if you're managing a remote VMM server from something that's not a server, all you need is the console. If you're using your VMM server to manage other um, other hosts, say other Hyper-V hosts, they may only need the local agent. So essentially, as I said earlier, uh, you control the management server with the local console, and the management server controls the remote hosts, the associated hosts, with the local agent. You are going to need SQL Server 2012 or 2014. It needs to be a member of an Active Directory domain. It doesn't have to be a domain controller, but at the very least, it needs to be a member server in that domain. Your VMM contains the control of the core functionality. Your console is your command and control point for it, and anything you use, of course, managed has to have the local agent. Now, those are not the only prerequisites, mind you. You also need the ADK and the PE, um, and of course the SCVMM installer itself. There are activities about that in the book. I've made some demo videos about this because the process really kind of has changed. Before, I think about 1809, the ADK included the pre-execution environment. Now it doesn't. So you'll have to install an extra piece if you're running, if you're going to support, maybe it was 1803. Anyway, if you're going to support 1903 or 1909 or the 2004 release, you're going to need two pieces, not three. Those two pieces, not just the ADK. Your VMM console, which I've done a number of videos using this. You've got some workspaces, your VMs and services, your fabric, your library, your jobs, your setting. That's what we were looking at just a minute ago, is the jobs workspace. Your host rating will tell you how well any given virtual machine will work on a host. If it will not work, it will tell you that. If it tells you why it won't work, think about what you can do to change it. The fabric workspace is your infrastructure to deal with storage device sharing across the network. Your library workspace contains things like hardware profiles, guest OS profiles, virtual machine, VM templates and things. Your hardware profile is the hardware blueprint for a new virtual machine. Your guest OS profile is the config file for a new virtual machine, specific to, so say for example, what its key needs to be, what the admin password needs to be, other things like that. The template, you can use your templates to create new VMs with a specific configuration. What I'm actually doing in the background right now, the job that you saw running at the beginning of this video was me turning a template into a VM. And there were actually three components that you need for that. You've got your hardware profile, your guest OS profile, and the VM and the base VM. Well, you could also do this with, say, a blank VHD or something like that. But if you do this with a VM, if you build the template with a VM, it's going to destroy it. It's not going to function as a VM anymore. Your job workspace will allow you to monitor, restart, stop jobs, see the result of jobs, look at what it's doing, how long it took, where it happened, etc. Your settings workspaces, those are your global VM settings, like Hyper-V settings, as opposed to local guest OS settings. And you can also add Active Directory accounts to a user role. There's an activity about this in the book as well. Create a new user role, create an Active Directory account to it for it, give them specific functionality. Say whether they can start VMs or stop VMs or whatnot. So that's all there is. These are the high points of chapter 6. There's more there. By all means, read the book. By all means, work through the labs. You really, really need. Of course, you can't pass the class if you don't do the labs. But you'll own the knowledge better once you've used it, rather than simply reading about it or watching me talk about it. So go do that, and we'll move on next week, or rather, in due time, depending on when you see this. We'll move on to Chapter 7, which is all about VMware vSphere. So we're leaving Hyper-V behind and going on into vSphere, and we'll spend a couple of weeks with vSphere and vCenter. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.